What does it mean? That I could be the one?
You heard. The Bene Gesserit serve as powerful partners to the great houses. But there's more to it.
You steer the politics of the Imperium from the shadows. I know.
You don't know everything. For thousands of years, we've been carefully crossing bloodlines to bring forth
The one?
a mind powerful enough to bridge space and time, past and future, who can help us into a better future. We think he's very close now.
Dune, the Bene Gesserit, the most dangerous power in the universe. When people think about Dune, they usually think about giant sandworms, epic battles, and Paul Atreides becoming the Messiah of Arrakis. But beneath all of those events lies a hidden force manipulating almost everything from the shadows. A sisterhood so powerful that emperors fear them. A group capable of controlling politics, religion, genetics, and even the minds of other human beings. Today, we're talking about the Bene Gesserit, arguably the most dangerous organization in all of Dune. We'll explore who they are, why they matter so much, how they secretly shaped human history, and how Denis Villeneuve's films portray them compared to Frank Herbert's original novels. And by the end, you'll understand why the Bene Gesserit may actually be more terrifying than any sandworm. Who are the Bene Gesserit? At first glance, the Bene Gesserit appear to be a religious order made up entirely of women. But that's exactly what they want people to think. In reality, they are much more than nuns, mystics, or advisors. They are political strategists, spies, psychologists, historians, and genetic engineers operating across thousands of worlds. For over 10,000 years, they have been quietly shaping human civilization. Unlike armies that use weapons or governments that use laws, the Bene Gesserit use information. Knowledge is their greatest weapon. They train their members from childhood to achieve incredible control over their minds and bodies. A Bene Gesserit can regulate her heartbeat, control pain, detect lies, influence emotions, and in some cases, command people through a terrifying ability known as the Voice. The Voice allows them to identify subtle psychological weaknesses in a target and issue commands in exactly the right tone to bypass resistance. It's not magic, it's an advanced understanding of human behavior taken to an almost supernatural level. This is one of Frank Herbert's central ideas throughout Dune. The most dangerous power isn't physical strength, it's control over human perception. Their true goal, the Bene Gesserit, are not interested in ruling openly. This is what makes them so dangerous. Most villains want power for themselves. The Bene Gesserit want control without appearing to be in control. For thousands of years, they have conducted a massive breeding program. Their objective is to create a superhuman individual known as the Kwisatz Haderach, someone capable of seeing paths through time that even the Bene Gesserit cannot access. Generation after generation, they arranged marriages, manipulated bloodlines, and directed the destinies of noble families. Entire civilizations became pieces on a genetic chessboard. Imagine a secret organization planning events not years in advance, but centuries in advance. That is exactly what the Bene Gesserit were doing, and this is where Jessica enters the story.
Lady Jessica's rebellion. According to the Bene Gesserit plan, Lady Jessica was supposed to bear a daughter for Duke Leto Atreides. That daughter would eventually marry into House Harkonnen and bring the genetic program closer to completion. But Jessica did something unexpected. She chose love. Because Duke Leto wanted a son, Jessica gave birth to Paul Atreides instead. That single decision changed the future of the universe. In the novels, this is one of the most important moments in the entire story. Jessica's act of love disrupts a plan that had been developing for thousands of years. The Bene Gesserit wanted control. Instead, they created something they could no longer control. Paul. Why Paul terrifies the Bene Gesserit. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Dune is that Paul is the chosen hero. Frank Herbert actually intended something much darker. Paul is not simply a savior. he is also a warning. The Bene Gesserit spent centuries trying to create the Kwisatz Haderach, but when Paul emerges, he exceeds their expectations. Suddenly, the organization that manipulates everyone else becomes frightened, because they realize Paul can see their plans. He can predict their moves, and worst of all, he is no longer dependent on them. The creators lose control of their creation. This is one of the most fascinating reversals in the story. The manipulators become the manipulated.
I've seen it.
You can see.
The visions are clear now. I see possible futures all at once. Our enemies are all around us. And in so many futures they prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through. I saw our bloodline, Mother, written across time. You are the daughter of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen.
The Missionaria Protectiva. Now let's talk about perhaps the most disturbing thing the Bene Gesserit ever created. The Missionaria Protectiva. This was a secret program in which the Bene Gesserit planted religious myths and prophecies across countless planets. Think about that for a moment. They deliberately manufactured religions. They created legends that could later be exploited by Bene Gesserit agents if they ever found themselves in danger. When Jessica and Paul arrive among the Fremen, many of the prophecies seem miraculous. The people believe a Messiah has come. But the shocking truth is that many of these beliefs were planted generations earlier by the Bene Gesserit themselves. This is one of Frank Herbert's sharpest critiques. People often think religions emerge naturally. In Dune, some of them were intentionally engineered. The Bene Gesserit weaponized belief itself, and once belief becomes powerful enough, it can reshape reality.
You don't believe in all this?
No, we don't.
These are all Southern beliefs.
Southern beliefs?
Southern tribes believe a Messiah will come to deliver us from evil.
You don't believe in the Lisan al-Gaib?
We believe in Fremen.
Bilal Kaifa.
You want to control people? You tell them a Messiah will come. Then they'll wait for centuries.
Novels versus movies. Denis Villeneuve's adaptations do an excellent job showing the Bene Gesserit as mysterious and intimidating. Characters like Reverend Mother Mohiam immediately feel powerful. Every scene involving them carries tension. The films emphasize their presence through visuals, costumes, and atmosphere. Their black robes, calm voices, and emotionless expressions make them appear almost supernatural. However, the novels go much deeper. In the books, we spend much more time understanding how they think. Readers learn about their political calculations, psychological training, and long-term planning. The films show their power. The novels explain their methods. For example, the Gom Jabbar scene is terrifying in both versions. But in the book, Herbert spends much more time exploring the philosophy behind the test. The Bene Gesserit are obsessed with separating humans from animals. To them, a true human can control instinct. An animal cannot. That philosophical depth is harder to communicate on screen. The movies simplify some of these ideas for pacing purposes.
LWHY the films changed Jessica. One major difference involves Lady Jessica. In the novels, Jessica often appears calm, disciplined, and internally conflicted. Readers gain access to her thoughts. We see her fears, calculations, and emotional struggles. In the films, Jessica appears much more openly emotional. She cries more frequently and visibly struggles with the burden placed upon her. Some fans loved this change. Others preferred the colder and more controlled version from the books. But the film adaptation uses Jessica's emotions to help audiences understand the immense pressure she faces. Without access to internal monologues, Villeneuve had to externalize what Herbert kept inside her mind. The real villains? An interesting question emerges. Are the Bene Gesserit villains? The answer isn't simple. They have manipulated billions of lives. They engineered religions. They controlled bloodlines. They deceived entire civilizations. Those actions sound villainous. Yet their ultimate goal was the survival of humanity. They believed humanity needed guidance to avoid extinction. In their minds, the ends justified the means. This moral ambiguity is what makes Dune so compelling. There are very few purely good or purely evil factions. Instead, everyone believes they are acting for the greater good, even when their actions are horrifying. Why they are so dangerous? At the end of the day, the Bene Gesserit are dangerous for a reason that has nothing to do with military power. They understand people better than people understand themselves. An army can conquer a planet. The Bene Gesserit can conquer minds. An emperor can control governments. The Bene Gesserit can control the people behind those governments. They don't need battles. They don't need fleets. They don't need thrones. Because they influence the people who possess those things. And that is a much deeper form of power. Frank Herbert understood that the greatest threat to freedom is often invisible, not the ruler everyone sees, but the hidden force shaping what people believe. The Bene Gesserit embody that idea perfectly. Conclusion. The Bene Gesserit are the secret architects of Dune's universe. They shaped religions, manipulated genetics, influenced politics, and ultimately created the conditions that allowed Paul Atreides to rise. The irony is that their greatest achievement became their greatest mistake. They spent thousands of years trying to create the perfect instrument of control. Instead, they created someone who escaped their control entirely. Whether you're reading the novels or watching the films, the Bene Gesserit remain one of science fiction's most fascinating organizations, not because they are the strongest, but because they prove that knowledge, belief, and manipulation can be far more powerful than any weapon. And that may be the most terrifying lesson Dune has to offer. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Dune, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more science fiction analysis, and let me know in the comments, who do you think is the most dangerous faction in Dune? The Bene Gesserit, the Fremen, the Harkonnens, or Paul Atreides himself? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.